Hey everybody, QG here. So, there was a new Total Drama fan series that came out pretty close to the time of the reboot being announced and released. I think it just finished wrapping up, I want to say like a month ago this season finished. But it's called Disventure Camp, which is basically a not a knockoff of Total Drama, but like a series inspired by Total Drama that doesn't use its name for copyright reasons. Basically, the most realistic way we're ever going to see a fan-made Total Drama series is in a form such as this, which is Disventure Camp. So, in this series, it's competition reality show, just like any other typical Total Drama season. You have the host, who is Crystal. Crystal is, we find out, is implied to be the daughter of Chris McLean from Total Drama. I guess for this reveal, I'll just start by going into the characters. So I'll start with Crystal. She's neat. I think she's pretty alright overall. I like that we've finally have some sort of fan work or just Total Drama series in general that actually gives the host something to do. And that something to do in this case is come out of the shadow of her own, father and his past experience doing Total Drama and stuff. And I think that's neat. I think that is a neat plot. Execution-wise, I feel like it kind of gets a bit repetitive in how they go about it. I don't know, just it felt like after a while, the more it got brought up, the more it was bringing up the same points and plot beats, and I was kind of waiting for something interesting to happen with it, and it didn't feel like anything ever did. So I don't know. Generally speaking, Crystal is fine. I don't dislike her, I don't love her, I like Chris a lot more, I probably like Dawn a lot more as well, but Crystal is also fine. And then there's her assistant, who is, I don't even remember the guy's name. I just know he's got a puppet named Nina. They're both kind of whatever. I'm not a big fan of them personally. I don't think they're particularly funny or anything like that. They're not bad. I don't know. I'm just not big on them. So as for this season in particular, this cast, actually no, I'll say the location is very, typical Total Drama series type stuff. It's just, it's on an island, or not even an island, actually. It's a camp. Duh, it's in the name. It's at a camp, but visually, it kind of just looks like a typical Total Drama Island setting, or whatever you want to call it. Different backgrounds, of course, but it's still very reminiscent of it. What else is there? Okay, so I guess now we can start getting into the characters and plots of this season. I am going to go in order of elimination. Or not elimination, I'll go in order of placement, and we will go from there. So, the first boot is Oliver. That is the blue sweatshirt kid, or not kid, actually. It's like a middle-aged guy, I think, with glasses. As a competitor, he's actually previously an intern for the Total Drama series in Universe. And during his first challenge, he ends up hallucinating that a tree is Chris, and he not like a panic attack, but kind of just shuts down almost, and it results in his team losing. So he gets to boot, but instead of getting sent home, he just gets hired on by Crystal to be an intern. And then for the rest of the season, he plays into her plotline of the whole trying to move past Chris and whatnot. He's fine. As a competitor, he doesn't really exist, and he's fine as a first boot, but As an intern, he's okay, I guess. I feel like he was a little underutilized, if anything. A previous intern competing on Total Drama seems like a character that should get farther and not just relegated to being an intern again, but I don't know. The way he was used is okay, I suppose. The next lowest placement character was Kai. That is the green outfit guy with the green-haired ponytail down in the middle here. He's obviously, inspired by a character like Dawn. I feel like that goes without saying. Feels like a lot of series like having a Dawn character of some kind now. As for Kai in particular, I like his design. I like his voice. I think that I think. Okay, so here's the thing with Kai is he's eliminated in episode 3, right? But up to that point, he had quite a bit of interactions between Yule and particularly Maggie. Maggie is the the tall one in the middle here in the big pink shirt and that kind of thing. That's her, the one getting her hair pulled by Yule. That's Maggie. And as far as I can tell, it seems to be sort of like a relationship interest type thing for Kai. So that's something. I don't know. Within the episode, what happens is Yule is like very, very harsh to a lot of people, and it kind of results in Kai kind of blowing up on him almost out of nowhere. And for whatever reason, he gets booted for it, even though it seemed like people were agreeing with him on what he said. And it's especially odd since Yule refusing a kiss was like the reason that team lost the challenge to begin with. I don't know. It's very odd. It was a very odd decision on their part for how they plotted it out and all that stuff. I didn't really understand it myself personally. What else? I suppose before I keep going into characters, I should go episode by episode. So episode 1 is just a run to platforms to decide teams, and then another triathlon type race. Jeez, I'm struggling here. Okay. Okay, so episode 2. What happens in episode 2 is far left people here, James and Aiden, they're starting to buddy up, and they think, oh, it'd be cool to be like an alliance or something, or it's more James' idea to be an alliance. And he suggests to Aiden that he tries working an angle with Carol to have her align with them so that the other 3 girls who've already gotten pretty close don't vote him out. So he decides to do that, and then for some reason, for whatever reason, I still do not know for sure, James decides that he is going to oust that Carol wants to vote off one of the other 3 girls, and somehow this results not only in Carol getting booted, but also James still, being fine, status-wise. I do not understand the logic behind this plot point at all, or why they went with it. I do not really get it. Episode 3 was the Kissing Roulette Challenge, which was a challenge where 2 wheels were spun, and whoever it landed on each of the wheels had to kiss each other on the lips. And considering this is a cast that has varying ages of characters, I was very uncomfortable watching it, to be quite honest. Yeah, I don't know, man. It was certainly a challenge. It was a challenge to sit through. I can say that much for sure. Man. Yeah, that was certainly an episode, and there's particularly a part where James and Aiden do the challenge, or have to kiss each other for the challenge, and James, goes to kiss Aiden, and then Aiden goes to push him off, and Jaden continues pulling him back in for the kiss, and that is not consent, even remotely. And that would be fine if James was presented as a bad person or something like that, but we'll get to that later on in the season. So, episode 3, that's when Kai goes home. Also within episode 3, we have Connor. That's the bottom right older guy here. Very, very initially, he tries to act like he's younger than he actually is, and by that I mean he tries he tries interacting with the teens like he's a teen himself, but very shortly after that, I feel like he kind of more comes to realize, okay, I need to just be who I am, which is an older man, and that works a lot better for him. Unfortunately, they decide to have 2 characters get booted episode 3, and Connor volunteers to be the second boot for his team. Granted, his reason for volunteering to be booted was because the only reason he really came there was to feel young again, only to realize that, he's really not, and there's nothing wrong with that, or something to that degree. I think Connor was pretty wasted as a character overall. I like the idea of his character a lot, especially with this kind of cast. I think he definitely should have at least merged. I would have absolutely kept him around for merge at least, acting as a mentor to all the characters, and then maybe he gets booted out by the main antag or something. Episode 4 was interesting. Okay, so episode 4 was very similar to Truth or Laser Shark's first half, where they were asked embarrassing questions about themselves and that kind of thing. There was definitely some choice things that occurred here, and probably the most notable one was the host at one point asking someone on one of the teams who had went through sexual reassignment surgery, I think was how they phrased it, which is a roundabout way of asking which one of you is trans. That's not even remotely okay. I think it's incredibly wrong that that's how they decided to reveal that, in fact, or reveal in universe that there is in fact a trans character in the season. Because I knew that going in because of the fan base, but had I not known that, that would have been my first exposure to it, and I do not like the idea of that. Yeah, I think that was done in very poor taste overall. What else has been occurring up to this point? So far up to this point, there's also been this love triangle-ish plot between the far right trio here, which is Hunter in the middle, Allie on the left, and Tess on the right. Hunter is, I believe he's a game player. Not video games, but he plays all kinds of games, so board games and card games and that sort of thing. So that's kind of what he does. So generally speaking, he's a kind of a natural in a lot of the challenges and whatnot. The left person here, Allie, is of course a video game streamer, or whatever you want to call her. She's definitely that, and that results in her connecting with Hunter pretty quickly. They start off okay, but even prior to that, Hunter was getting along better with Tess, who is mood-wise kind of more similar to Hunter, I would say. So, I mean, generally speaking, I think it makes sense why these two would come close to, you know, Hunter. I do think it's, I don't know. I do think it was set up extremely quickly, all things considered. I'm pretty sure by episode 3 or 4, we already discover that Tess takes pills for depression, which they very conveniently label as such on the bottle, something like pills for depression or something like that. I'll be honest, the way it's done, I can't really take it seriously at all. I don't think it was very well handled, and it certainly wasn't well paced. You can make a plot like that work the way they were going about it. I think the way to do it is have Hunter discover a bottle of pills from Tess without a label. Like, he doesn't know what they're for, and then have him keep him and the audience guessing. And then over time, slowly but surely reveal that Tess is in fact, you know, troubled mentally. And I think that would have been a lot more effective. But instead, we get a whole reveal and come to an understanding between Hunter and Tess very early. I think within the same episode. It's so awkwardly paced as a result. The next character that was booted, though, was Maggie. I believe she was booted episode 4. It's hard to tell because, honestly, the way they utilized Maggie made her kind of forgettable, unfortunately, despite her having one of the better character designs, I'd say. Characterization-wise, she's kind of a pushover, I guess you could say. Like, what's a good character to compare her to that's like pushover-y? I want to say it's like... Yeah, I'm really not sure who I'd describe her as similar to in that regard, but that's definitely what she feels like, is the character that's more of a pushover of sorts. So what happens here is James and Yule have started working together because Aiden wants nothing to do with James after the stuff that played out in episode 2, and me personally, I don't really blame him. And because of all that and how that plays out, Yule at one point tries to work with Aiden, or convinces him to try voting off James. And Aiden doesn't really buy that Yule will actually be in an alliance with him, but he does decide to vote for James anyways because he thinks it'd be funny or not funny, but he wants to see James sweat a bit after getting 2 votes or something like that. And then as it turns out, James only ends up getting the 1 vote, which is from Aiden. And for some reason, Aiden is surprised about this. I don't know. The early season's methods of strategizing between characters is not the greatest at all, I don't think. Anyways, this results in Maggie getting the boot. However, after her elimination, she ends up finding Kai, who never got on the bus to leave the camp. She joins him in like a forest part of the camp. And spoiler alert, for the rest of the season, they just are around a campfire meditating, I think. They don't really become relevant again. I was hoping something would come of that, but somehow nothing really did. It was a very odd decision for those characters. And I feel like it's supposed to justify them being early boots, but honestly, I just didn't think it worked at all. I suppose I should talk about the other characters I haven't mentioned yet that are still here. We have Lake, who is kind of the generally skilled at everything but has super strict parents archetype of character. Lake is the pale blonde greenish sweater on the left side here. Standing right next to her is Rosa Maria. She is a teen mom character. And so as a result, she is a bit more mentally mature, I would say, compared to other characters here. And she generally looks out for people as a result. I think that character concept is neat. I don't like the detail that she had her kid at 16. I don't like the implications of that. I feel like you could have easily just changed that to 18 and the character would have been the exact same. But nonetheless, Rosa Maria is a neat character, and I do enjoy her role as sort of, what do you describe her role? It's, I mean, sort of a leader of sorts. Not really a team leader, but like a leader for certain characters that are deemed more as outcasts in the group and can't really find anyone else to connect with or socialize with of that sort. And then, of course, there's the last character who's in the bottom left here, which is Rhea, who is a Bollywood, or I should say a failed Bollywood actress, who's not really familiar with a lot of stuff in this part of the country, or outside of her country. She bonds with Connor a bit, that's nice, but, you know, again, Connor goes way too early for it to really amount to much of anything. Yeah, I don't know. As at the moment, Rhea's kind of just here, and she's seemingly friendly, little naive maybe, but not like you know, dumb naive, more like just literally unaware of certain things, and there's nothing really wrong with that, and it's not really used as a character flaw or anything. So at the time, Rhea's kind of just here. So after Maggie gets booted, we go on to episode 5, and I think this is when Yul gets the boot. So Yul is, or I don't know if I'm saying that right. Is it Yul? I'm gonna go with Yul and hope that that's correct. So Yul is a pretty bad character, if I'm being honest. And I'm not saying that as like oh, well, you just don't like bad people. Like, no, I think even as like a bad person character, Yul is just kind of particularly bad. Yeah, the thing with Yul is that a lot of his remarks or comments that are supposed to make you hate him are so unnecessarily mean and cruel for no real reason that you can't even really find him that entertaining at all. And it's all of course made even stranger by the fact that in episode 1, Yul claims his main motivation for being there is to fix his reputation of sorts, and yet he proceeds to just be the worst through his duration of the season. It gets to a point where he actually tries getting James to poison Aiden's food, to poison him and get him out of the competition. Luckily for us, James decides to poison Yul instead, and that results in Yul getting the boot. Not that it was really necessary. Yul was going to be voted off anyways. Yeah, I don't really find Yul particularly interesting at all. I think his character design reeks of the whole yellowish complexion that you see in a lot of Asian and Korean characters now, in official Total Drama media and in fan-made works that I'm not a fan of. I don't know. There's the fact that a lot of the things he says just borders on more edgy than funny. Like, I think his first line is something to do with putting down Rosa Maria for probably like struggling with her menopause at the moment or something like that, or it might have been Carol instead. I don't really remember. It was one of those two, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, just really random out of pocket stuff like that. Like at first, very initially, I was like, that's so out of pocket, it's kind of funny. But then he kind of just got worse, and then he started overstaying the welcome of any other character, and it was just getting really tiring more than anything. These earlier episodes definitely had a trend of obvious main character does something that results in a character being booted, despite not much incentive or logic in the universe to do to the to do so for them or their team. That is definitely something Yule was guilty of, and that is definitely something James has been guilty of up to this point. So from there, I think the next boot was Tess. I already pretty much talked about Tess and how I think the way her depression plotline is handled is just kind of not, like, I don't know. I'm not big on her at all. She kind of just feels like she's here. I don't think she's probably got the weakest character design, I would say, as well. I don't think it's really indicative of her situation or characterization at all. So that also kind of bugs me. But generally speaking, I don't know. I just think Tess is a bit melodramatic of sorts of a character. It feels way too serious for what the show probably should have been in the first place. Because, like, I should state for the record, a lot of, like, any gross out humor or fart humor, that kind of thing, is not at all present in Disventure Camp, or if it is, it's used very, very sparingly. And instead, it feels like it's replaced with more, like, edgier or darker tone or plot line or jokes. And it's, I don't know, I don't want to say it makes the season feel a bit mean-spirited, because that's not the right word. I want to say it like, it makes the season just feel, well, not very comedic. I'll say that. I didn't laugh much at all watching Disventure Camp, unfortunately. I'm sure I had my moments. I'm sure there were moments, but yeah, for the most part, I just didn't find this series that funny at all. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have much to say about Tess. I'm very whelmed with her character, I guess you could say. It's by this point I'm starting to lose track of which episodes had stuff occur when. I know at some point, very, very soon here, Carol returns. The older woman you see on the bottom right. I know she returns after Tess goes, I'm pretty sure. And I think the same episode she returns, Lake gets eliminated as well, I want to say. Lake is, of this entire cast, she's probably my favorite, and it's really only because she feels like one of, if not the only character to have a plot that feels properly paced and realized start to finish. And I mean, that being said, the plot is, been done to death at this point, of the character who's good at a lot of things can't get away from her overbearing parents, sort of thing. And it's like, it's a good plot. Like, it's always a safely good plot, but that doesn't change the fact that it's, I don't know, the way the show goes about it's kind of bland overall. I like that it occurs partly through interaction with Crystal, the host. I think that's neat. That's a neat element that you don't really see in Total Drama, which is the host kind of actually getting involved with the contestants' personal lives in a way. I do think that would be a nice change of pace in the future, of actual Total Drama. Not that I expect that anytime soon, because I'd never expect that from Chris, but I'm just saying generally I think that would be a neat thing to have at some point, and I like that that's utilized here. So I guess Lake's the character I have the most positive thoughts on overall, if that's worth anything. However, I want to say that, let me think, You'll probably got booted episode 5. Tess probably got booted episode 6. There had to have been a non-elimination episode in there somewhere. Because I think because Lake was gone by episode 8. And then episode 9 comes around. And Carol actually gets eliminated again right away because of an injury. This character feels extremely wasted, and it's a shame because I actually like that she kind of has an animal taming ability of sorts. That's actually really cool. I'm not saying I needed a character that took on a role like that, but I'm definitely saying that a character like Carol absolutely could have been like main antagonist status, if nothing else. Like, you don't have to make her win, but, like, she absolutely could have been a main antagonist. And up to this point, there has definitely not been a main antagonist to really root against, I would say. I mean, there's been, partial antagonists like Yule, who was definitely an antagonistic role of sorts. And then, of course, Carol, in the episode she was an antagonistic force. But we don't have like an overarching villain or antagonist in this season so far. And I think that's definitely a big reason why I'm so whelmed by the season overall, which is that it just, with an antagonist, I think it really helps make the season feel like it has a solid sense of direction. Because in a way, the antagonist does shape how the season goes because the protagonists have to combat the antagonist. So if you're lacking one of or both of them, then do you really have a plot? And to that I say, no, I don't think Disventure Camp has much of a well-established plot through line at all, really, which is a big shame. However, Carol isn't the only character to get booted episode 9. Allie also gets the boot via vote. I don't really care much for Allie at all. I mean, neat design, I guess. Allie just feels extremely plain to me. I have the most no thoughts on her of any character, I would say. I like Sam a lot more. I'll say that much. Sam is a much better gamer character than Allie will ever be. And then when she's eliminated, Hunter goes to kiss her despite explicitly telling Tess and Allie that he wants to think over who he'd rather be with, or if he wants to be with anyone at all, which definitely complicates things, but this doesn't end up actually becoming relevant until the finale anyways, because that's when they're all going to see each other again. So I'm just going to put that under the rug for now as far as that plot. Okay, so episode 10 is when we see an interesting turn of events. So up to this point, in every challenge and every merge challenge, Hunter has been getting immunity. I'm not sure if he's literally always had immunity or not. I don't really remember, but I know for a fact that he had merge immunity over and over and over again, and I know that was like definitely a thing. It's not necessarily a problem, I guess, but I don't know. I'll have more to say about Hunter later, I'm sure. So yeah, that puts us to the final 5. The final 5 being James, Aiden, Rhea, Rosa Maria, and Hunter. With Allie gone and Carol gone, that leaves them as the final 5. The 4 that aren't Hunter decide to sort of group up to take down Hunter, knowing that he's the biggest threat at the moment. I do like the dynamic that creates, but it doesn't really change the fact that I don't care for Hunter just winning challenges over and over and over and over again. Or not even winning challenges necessarily, just winning immunity over and over again. I think I don't know, it just feels a little bland, and I think it reflects badly on the other competitors who never end up winning a merge challenge, I guess. As a result, I think it makes them not feel like they're really finalist worthy in a way. So now we get to the final 5, and what happens is the 4 that are taking on Hunter aren't really able to take him on correctly. They get a bunch of infighting and stuff, and somehow Rosa Maria ends up having a couple stolen items from other players. Hunter wins the challenge, gets immunity, because of course he does. And then come elimination, Rosa Maria also can't find her immunity idol, because that was also a thing. But for the longest time, Rosa Maria had the immunity idol. So Rosa Maria ended up getting booted, and as it turns out, Rhea actually pinned the blame all on her. She framed her for stealing, and she took her immunity idol when she unaware to her. Which essentially means that Rhea, by this point, at episode 10 out of 13, has become a twist villain of sorts. I don't think Total Drama is a series that can really work with a twist villain. Especially not this... Well, okay. I don't think it can work with a twist villain this late into a season. Like, by the time this actually happens, there's... Oh gosh, how many characters left? There's... Well, the characters don't even matter. There's 3 episodes left. 2 of which are part of the same episode, really. They're a 2-parter. So... Also, I'm sorry to Rosa Maria, I don't really have much to say about her. She's nice, I guess, but character-wise, she just doesn't really go through much. She's pretty static, I think. Yeah, Rhea's change from not really having much of any ally, just kind of being worried about being alone and not really having much allies in the game, to becoming the antagonist at the 11th hour, just... There's something about the way they handle it that does not feel properly explored and established, to the point where it really does feel like Rhea turned into a completely different character right at the very end. And yeah, I don't know. It was disappointing, to say the least. I wouldn't have even minded the character turn if it just, was built up to, was plotted correctly. Disventure Camp is a written season, but I would not argue that it's a plotted season. Just based on what I've seen, it does not feel like it is. With the exception of, like, one relationship, I would say. So yeah. From there, we get to the final 4, and this time I think it was Aiden that won immunity, somehow. So... that left Hunter pretty much wide open. However, everyone except Hunter voted for Rhea, but it didn't matter because, Rhea had Rosa Maria's immunity idol, which got Hunter booted. Again, I can talk about Hunter more in a little bit once we actually get to the finale and stuff, but yeah. And of course, there's a lot of stuff I'm not talking about yet with James and Aiden that we will definitely be getting to. Yeah, so, placement-wise in the finale portion of this season, Aiden ends up getting 3rd, Rhea ends up getting 2nd, and James ends up winning overall. So, I guess I'll go ahead and go over Hunter now. During the finale, he ends up reconciling with Allie and Tess to just remain friends. I think that's a neat conclusion of sorts. I like that there is a plot like that. What I don't really care for is that they built this up all season to be a who is he going to end up with, only for them to be like, well, he's not going to end up with either, or it's going to be both of them, or something like that. It feels like a really... it feels like a very, very weird cop-out of sorts. Not helped by the fact that I didn't care much for Hunter's presence throughout the season either. I don't know. It doesn't quite feel right to call him a Gary stew. I can just say that I don't really care for the plots he had, which were his interactions with Tess and Allie and his constant challenge or immunity wins. So yeah. And again, I pretty much talked about Rhea, but she doesn't really change much beyond what I just explained. As soon as she gets Rosa Maria booted, she just kind of turns full heel. And she ends up regretting her actions by the end of the finale, but like, why have this character act like this at all? It did not feel properly set up to. It didn't feel properly established. Like, it's like they truly did just want to write a completely different character by the end, and Rhea ended up being that character. So now it's time to get into the meat and potatoes of the season. Without a doubt, the main characters, James and Aiden. So the thing with James and Aiden is that James is an influencer character, and Aiden is more of the everyman type archetype of character. And what happens is James, as we find out in episode 11, James decides to interact a bunch with Aiden to get interest with his followers and stuff, to sort of hype them up as a couple or a thing. It's not till more and more episodes go by that James starts to realize that he actually does have genuine feelings for Aiden. And, of course, by episode 11 is when the truth comes out that, from Rhea, because she had swiped James' phone, the truth comes out that initially James was interacting so much with Aiden just, for his following on his influencer stuff, or whatever you call it. So that caused them a falling out for a bit, but by the finale they reconcile and everything's all good. James gets a moment during the finale, which is basically like he seeks approval from his followers because he didn't have anyone else to seek approval from, type deal. Basically also lonely of sorts. I don't really like James and Aiden as a couple. I think the fact that James started the couple almost kind of forcefully, in a way, sort of inherently makes the couple toxic, even if it ended on a good note. And then, of course, there's other things as well, like the previously mentioned episode 3 moment where he kind of forces himself on Aiden much longer than even necessary for the challenge. And I don't know, it's just very, very weirdly handled, and James in particular I don't think is much of a good strategist at all, not nearly as much as they're wanting us, the viewers, to believe while we're watching the show. And so as a result, I think it makes James being the ultimate winner not really enjoyable much at all. Like, I don't know. I just did not care for James winning, even. That's not to say I thought Aiden was a better competitor, but, like, I don't know. I probably still would have preferred him winning to James, I guess. Yeah, Disventure Camp. Keep in mind, everything I've been saying for this video is a means of constructive criticism. It's not coming from, like, pure hatred or anything like that. Obviously, I don't want to tear down a fan-made series like this, because it takes a lot of talent and skill to assemble the animators and voice actors and whatnot to make a season like this. Much and even more so to ensure the quality and accuracy of it from a visual and audio standpoint. That doesn't change the fact that quite a few characters, like, audio qualities could be a lot better, and most of them sound like they're speaking through a mic anyways. But the difference is that I can forgive that on the basis that this is fan-made and not every person is going to have the best mic setup. There's really not much you can do about that. That being said, I can't really ignore the issue, which is that Disventure Camp, as a season, just does not feel plotted. It feels like it has ideas for storylines. It feels like those storylines definitely play out, but by and large, it does not feel like this season was actually planned out and plotted out and truly thought through, as far as how the characters' arcs intertwine and interact with each other and how the characters interact with one another. And you know, that shouldn't be an issue. Like, I should be able to just enjoy Disventure Camp for what it is, but the problem is that I don't think it's funny. Like, the Disventure Camp just isn't really that comedic, or if it is, it's not very good at it, I guess. Most of the times, Disventure Camp, I feel like, is trying to be comedic. I just don't find it funny, I guess. And so, as a result, I kind of have to fall back on the writing. And when the writing is this messy and unorganized, plotting-wise, I just can't really ignore it. So, what am I forgetting? Oh, yeah, I know what I'm forgetting. It's the trans rep. Yeah, so Disventure Camp has actual genuine trans rep in it. And by that, I mean a character is trans. I already mentioned it earlier back when I was discussing episode 4. If you're not familiar with Disventure Camp and forgot about that detail from earlier, I don't blame you, because my first time watching, I completely missed the admission from Aiden that he is in fact trans, because they did not do the best job writing that scene either. And yeah, that's a bummer, honestly, I think. Not that that's, you know, that's not to say that's something that needs to define Aiden's character. I was just really disappointed to find that I watched through the whole season only to realize that I had already missed the confession. Like, I don't know how that even happened, but I guess that should tell you that the confession wasn't explicit enough to be doing its job. And I don't like the fact that they don't, you know, they don't like explicitly say trans. Like, they don't say it. They don't say trans. They don't say transgender. They don't even say transsexual, as outdated and horrible a term as that is. They don't even say that. Like, it's just not explicitly referred to at all. And yeah, I don't know. It's so, yeah. And really, I feel like it just comes down to feeling like a bonus detail that we're supposed to hate James even more because, oh, Aiden just shared this huge secret with him, and now it's revealed that he was playing him the whole time. He's horrible. But then he goes on to win. So, like, I don't know how this season is supposed to make me feel about those two. I just know I don't really care for how they're utilized at all. So, in conclusion, Disventure Camp is definitely a fan-made series with a lot of talent and effort and talented people behind it. But please plan out your seasons. Or if you did plan out your seasons, hire someone better to do it, because this season was not it. I don't give number ratings to stuff. I am just going to say wholeheartedly that I don't think there's any canon total drama season that is better than Disventure Camp. No, I said that completely wrong. Oh my goodness. There is no canon total drama season that is worse than Disventure Camp. That's not to say Disventure Camp is like horrible, But yeah, I definitely don't feel comfortable saying I think it's good. I do think overall, taking everything into account, this is generally kind of a badly written series. Which is a shame, because you can tell that the character designs and the animation, and for the most part the voice work, does have a lot of genuine passion and effort put into it. Which makes it a shame that it seems to have completely dropped the ball in the writing portion. So yeah. That was my review of Disventure Camp. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. Comment down below, let me know how much you agree or disagree with me, and let me know of other stuff I didn't quite pick up on or forgot to mention in this video. I'm sure I'll be debating with a lot of you in the comments as well about this season, I have a feeling. And share this video with your friends so that they can also, if they're interested, know my thoughts on Disventure Camp. And with that, until the next video, peace.